Hello, everybody, and welcome out to the Formula Drift Championship presented by Blackview Dash Cameras. We're just finishing up fixing a few lines that came down during practice, and we'll be right underway in the top 32. Stick with us here. A beautiful day. Getting ready to get into all the action here at round 6 at Evergreen Speedway. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Welcome again to round 6 of the Formula Drift Championship presented by Blackview Dash Cameras. Real quick, can I hear you make some noise, Pacific Northwest? And, of course, around the globe, thank you for tuning in. The battle in Seattle is about to begin in just moments. We are warming up the respective tires underneath the two vehicles that kicking off top 32. I'm Jared Dienda, Ryan Sage. Vaughn Gittin Jr., our number one qualifier going against Farukq Kuge. Vaughn Gittin Jr., big, I would say this is kind of probably one of his most nerve-wracking battles. He's never gone against Farukq, and you have to think number 1 versus number 32. Well,
I think for the top 5 guys, every battle from here on out is basically a must-win since they are really the mathematical hopefuls for a championship. So no easy task here for Vaughn Gittin Jr. He'll take the lead as the number 1 qualifier against Farukq Kuge, who's continuing to progress in his program, and he's got his work cut out for him in the current leader.
Vaughn Gittin Jr., number 1 qualifier, a really good showing, and keep in mind that it was after a really big hit in practice, then got it back together, got a lot of practice runs, and then qualifying. Wasn't number 1 until the final run. Got the number 1 spot. Here we go. Vaughn Gittin Jr. will lead the Monster Energy Nitto Tire Mustang RTR. Good initiation from him. Farukq with a faint entry. Vaughn Gittin Jr. on that high line. Nice job coming into that first rear clipping zone. Down now, through into the power alley. That's a touch and go. Boom. Hit it, quit it. Fill the second rear clipping zone. He does just that. Farukq Kuge trying to hang tough there right now as Vaughn Gittin Jr. rounds out that final corner. Farukq, not a bad run, just quite a bit of distance behind, and taking a look at it, slowing it down once again, Ryan Sage and, of course, Ryan Lontaine.
Well, it's certainly going to be, the obvious thing for Vaughn in the lead position is going to be much easier than in the chase, as he'll have to figure out how aggressive he wants to battle. But for you, Ryan, I mean, obviously this is a pretty solid lead run from Vaughn Gittin Jr. here. It's some distance between him and Farukq. Farukq trying to make up ground pretty much the entire way through the course.
Yeah, Farukq has been having trouble with that outside zone 1 all weekend, and this is no exception. Unfortunately, being low on the bank like that is a big detriment because that's such an important part of the track. We do deem it one of the more difficult areas of the track, so we're telling the chase drivers they really need to be close. So it's going to be a tough mountain to climb for him right now.
This is the moment now that we're talking about where things can go awry, and we've seen it go awry. Vaughn Gittin Jr., our current points leader, top 32. You know, he's going against Farukq, who as Ryan said, and we've all seen it, kind of struggling with that first rear clipping zone on initiation, filling that big bank, getting high on it. How is Vaughn Gittin Jr. going to chase down with Farukq?
Well, you know, it's definitely one of those things that you really want to lean on your spotter that has data on the drivers, exactly how fast they're entering and what portions of the course, what their tendencies are, and what they can expect. But sometimes, you know, you really don't know what's going to happen in competition when the blood is boiling and you got the adrenaline going. So here we go for run number 2. All
right, Farukq will now lead. Vaughn Gittin Jr. will give chase. Now, Ryan, that start chicane, we haven't seen it being used. I mean, you know, this is where we institute the line as well. Basically, we've seen the Battle of the Irishmen a couple of years ago where he crossed over the line. We saw some contact. We'll get to that in a minute as we're about to kick off the second portion of this battle. Farukq with that big feint entry. How's Vaughn Gittin Jr. going to chase it down? Farukq, a lot higher than his first run. Nice job. Vaughn Gittin Jr. dropping down off the bank into the power. That's Farukq going to manage. Nice job into the touch and go. Vaughn Gittin Jr. very hesitant there, but sticks to him, transitions through, and powers through the finish line. Ryan, as we take a look at this again.
Well, a good tempered response here from Vaughn Gittin Jr., giving a little bit of space here to Farukq, and then you can see starting to reel him in on the bank. Farukq doing a decent job here, a little bit of wavering. You can see Vaughn making some adjustments there, but from you, Ryan Lantain, anything particular stand out between Farukq and Vaughn in run number 2?
Well, that was definitely Farukq's best run that I've seen from him all weekend through practice and everything, and Vaughn did a great job of not sitting far back and giving him a lot of space. He actually did get that proximity and maintain it throughout, despite some wavering and some uncertainty on Farukq's part. But that was, like I said, the best run we've seen from Farukq. So good for him. He managed to get himself up higher on the bank and make a pretty good lead run.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But Ryan, I think, as you said, his spotter told him what to do, and there it is. It does deliver. Vaughn Gittin Jr. gets the win. Vaughn Gittin Jr. unanimously gets the win, taking out Farukq as Vaughn Gittin Jr., our current points leader, advances on to the top 16. One battle in the book of top 32 here in the Battle in Seattle. As we are moving on to our next battle. Should be a good one. Kristoffs, Dean Carney. Dean Carney really flourishing there in that Oracle Lighting Dodge Viper, and Kristoffs getting his first podium in Orlando, almost getting the win, just one cone away, but he was just spot on. Some of the best, arguably some of the best chase runs we saw in Orlando, and Kristoffs doing a refresh on his car. We didn't see him in Montreal. You have to think that he gathered some parts, gathered some bits, and got the car back together tight and right, and it looks better. Looks just as good as it started out the season. A lot of these cars running hard, and a hard-working team behind each and every one. All Achilles radial smoke will be pouring out of the backs of these vehicles. Which Achilles driver is going to be the Latvian driver of Kristoffs? Kristoffs, who qualified 16th compared to Dean Carney, qualified 17th. So a fairly equally matched battle if you look at it on how they run the course and what the judges are looking for. Ryan Kristoffs in that V8 BMW. A lot of BMWs this year compared to previous years. Obviously Michael Essa took it to a championship, but BMWs, we've seen a lot of international BMWs.
Yeah, it's certainly becoming a popular chassis, and it has had some success in the series with Michael Essa, but I think Kristoffs has really exemplified what's possible with that vehicle, and when we saw him just narrowly miss that win in Orlando, and he definitely showed that he can hang with the best. All
right, so here we go. So as Kristoffs and Dean Carney are on the start line, real quick, just want to let you know we could pick up your limited edition T-shirt, your limited edition Seattle T-shirt, the Throwdown here in Seattle. Kristoffs initiation both at the same time. Nice early initiation. Kristoffs high on the bank, nice job. Dean Carney right there as well. Kristoffs out to touch and go, getting into it pretty deep. Dean Carney even deeper. Foregoes that rear clipping zone, dropping back. Look at that horsepower that Kristoffs had. And just as Kristoffs just navigates that course, just transitioning and just powering through. Ryan.
Well, really interesting run there between these two teammates as we take a look again. You can see Kristoffs down that front straight. You can see Dean tucking in behind, both drivers kind of on a mid-high line, and then really Kristoffs getting up real high right there. A little bit of twitchiness from Dean, and then Ryan as they come off the bank, and we see Dean come through the smoke cloud here. How do you look at this run?
It looked like Kristoffs might have dropped half a tire, maybe a tire. It's hard to say. You'd have to see another replay there in the touch-and-go area, but pretty clean nonetheless. Dean, like you said, coming through that smoke as he rotated, didn't quite get out to the outside zone 2 like he should have, and that might have been a result of the smoke. And then they kind of finished a little differently at the end there. At the finish line, Kristoffs ended up getting by that clip, but Dean took a very different line and rotated his car at a different spot between inside clip 1 and 2.
All right, getting the insight from both Ryan Sage, co-host, and one of our official Formula Drift judges, alongside his fellow judges that are Brian Egger and Andy Yen. We're getting some insight and words from Ryan Lontaine. Ryan Lontaine, one of the Formula Drift judges, and giving some insight on what's going down. Let's alternate the driver's order. This is Dean Carney and Kristoffs for run 2 of this top 32 battle. Hashtag FDSEA. Let everybody know you're watching Formula Drift Seattle, the Battle in Seattle, aka the Throwdown. Dean Carney. So that's what we were talking about. It was Dean Carney and D-Mac a few years ago there that got into it. But right now, Dean Carney looking very settled. Nice on the bank. Way to come back with a vengeance for Dean Carney. Filling that second rear clipping zone. As Kristoffs so good chase position, transitions through. Kristoffs has a really good, when he transitions, he just gets back up on it. It looked really strong, but let's take a look at it again.
Both drivers very aggressive here. You can see Kristoffs right out of the gate, nearly touching Dean right there. Very aggressive, makes a little bit of mistake in his over-aggressiveness, and then you can see he drops down there. Dean nice and high on the bank, now coming off the bank, and then Ryan, as we get into the power alley here, What are your thoughts on Blues and Kearney in that section of the course?
Well, Kristoffs seemed to make a lot of corrections in outside zone 1. He went to a very low rate of angle through outside zone 1 and made a lot of corrections in the chase position. His proximity might have been slightly better, but he had to fight a lot to keep it there. Dean did a better job, I think, of the touch and go to outside zone 2 and finished off really smoothly, but Kristoffs was close on the infield. They didn't really have any problems in that area.
Yeah, it seemed almost a bit reminiscent of almost like a Daigo Saito a little bit to me, where, you know, when Daigo came in, he'd chase and then he'd kind of lose some angle, but then gain that proximity and get back. He kind of shimmied his way around the track, but then totally wrangling it in. It seems like he's got that Daigo kind of surge right there. He's got that power.
Yeah, I thought he was the best chase driver we saw in Orlando, and he certainly is showing that he's comfortable in that position. Sometimes, though, in being very aggressive, you can make some mistakes that might come back to bite you. So here we go.
All right, so are we going to see Dean win, Kristoffs, or are we going one more time? Brian, Andy, and Ryan. Slide him left for Dean Carney. Slide him right for Kristoffs Blues. And Brian says one more time. Andy says, and unanimously, one more time. They are going at it again. It's a one more time battle between Dean Carney, Kristoffs Blues, and I really agree with that call. I think both of them had, let's call it what it is, a little lackluster. They had both, I think, really good lead runs. I think they both could clean up their chase runs.
Yeah, I think so. There's certainly, a case to be made that both drivers had equal mistakes, given what you just talked about there, and so I think it's deserving of a one more time.
All right, so those gentlemen will get some fresh rubber underneath, some fresh Achilles radials underneath their vehicle, and we'll see Kaufman and Gray and Kaufman here. So these guys have not seen battle against each other. Andrew Gray, this is his first Formula J Pro season, originally from Scotland, now residing in Japan. As we are ready to see this third battle. So only driver in the top 16 so far, Vaughn Gittin Jr. The one more time between Blues. If you're just tuning in, here we go. We are seeing Kaufman and Gray. Kaufman out front. That Ford V8 powered S13. Good initiation. Gray, lower line, but Kaufman staying high. He looks really solid in practice. Into the touch and go. Kaufman does not even get out to the touch and go. Gray uses all the course. Kaufman knocking over that front clip, deduction. Kaufman really just, from kind of bookending the course. Strong on the initiation, strong on that final clip, but somewhere in the middle gets a little lost.
Well, Kaufman looked really strong in qualifying yesterday, and he's trying to carry that momentum into today. You can see a little bit lower on the bank there is Gray. Kaufman nice and high, good angle there. Like to see Gray stay on the line with Kaufman on that bank, especially with the way that it's weighted. Ryan, what do you see from Gray here as far as the attack on the inside and what he did on outer zone 1?
Well, outer zone 1, he definitely had an issue staying up on the bank, and he's said that before. He doesn't really like the banked ovals very much. In Japan, they don't have so many of them, so he doesn't have a lot of experience on them, but he's been having trouble getting that car up there. And then on the infield, unfortunately, Kaufman completely missed that touch and go, and by quite a bit. So that'll be a bit of a detriment to him there for sure.
All right, sending. Here we go. Gray out front, Kaufman giving chase. So digesting that first run are our three judges. Some moments of greatness for either of the drivers. Let's see, as you said, Gray kind of struggling to stay high on the bank. Keeps it middle, trying to massage it higher. Kaufman actually higher on the bank. We'd like to see him utilize that lead car's moving clipping point. Kaufman not getting out to the touch and go again. Gray does. Gray taking the front clip as a souvenir, dropping it off in front of Kaufman. Ryan?
Well, tough battle here. Obviously Gray was not the better in his chase position on the bank. He does a much better job here. Kaufman a little bit of separation, but you can see that Kaufman is much more on the line that Gray is. Now coming off the bank here, you can see Gray getting that touch and go. And then Ryan, do you like the way that Kaufman attacked on the inside there? And then is that a big mistake by Gray hitting that inside clip?
So you can't really fault the chase driver when the lead driver isn't where they're supposed to be through the majority of the course. Again, Gray having that hard time getting up to that outside zone 1, not ideal. Really want to see them up there as high as they can. So Kaufman, in that sense, is trying to maintain proximity, but the lead isn't really doing what they're supposed to do in that area. Kaufman did attack in the center portion of the track. He did kind of, like you say, miss that touch and go a little bit too, but the lead not being on the right line is a big thing in a big area like that.
All right, so that's a big ding against the camp of Andrew Gray, and yeah, you have to imagine Kaufman's like, oh man, like get get up there. I'm trying to follow you because we saw Kaufman actually higher than Gray. So we're going to go Brian, Andy, and Ryan, and it is unanimous. Matt Kaufman gets the win. He's from right here in the Pacific Northwest, so Matt Kaufman advances in that Mobil 1 Ford V8 powered S13. Unfortunately, Andrew Gray in the power vehicles, big four-door sedan, gets knocked out. So next up, this should be a real fun battle. Two very charismatic drivers. I mean, a lot of charisma throughout the paddock. But we are seeing Mad Mike Wadette in that 4-rotor twin-turbo MX-5. And, you know, has had some bad luck over the last few rounds. But then Alec Honadale, who just really has made a name for himself this year. This has been his third year Formula Drift competition. He has won against Mad Mike Wadette. And Alec Honadale making a real name for himself in that supercharged V8 S14. Shout out to obviously the Wadette family, and also Ava and Lila for watching all the way in New Zealand. So here we go, as we are going to see Mad Mike Wadette lead in what's deemed the Red Bull MX-5. Alec Honadale on Nexen tires, lighten them up. Mad Mike Wadette initiates, starts low, works it high. About a mid to high line coming off the bank. Alec Honadale checking up. Wow, getting real lost in the smoke. Doesn't get out to the touch and go. Does feel that second zone, and Alec Honadale makes his presence felt on Mad Mike's door. Wow. That's a great way of making up some, what touch and go? Bam, I'm going to stick it to your door.
Yeah, it's insane to me that this kid is not yet 21, and yet he has so much potential. You can see here he does make a little bit of a mistake here on the bank, being slightly shallower. You can see right there he has to check up a little bit, not to get super close to Mike, but as he comes through the smoke cloud, Ryan, he attacks on the inside and gets really close to Mad Mike here.
He did, yeah, he got really tight right at that inside clip. Pretty impressive how close he got. I'd like to see a little bit better what happened coming off the bank here. It looked like he might have lost a little bit of angle in that area, but we'll have to try to get a better view of that.
From your perspective, what do both drivers need to do in run number 2 here in order to take the win?
Well, Honadale has an opportunity on outside zone 1 where Mike wasn't quite as high as he could have been. So Honadale could get right up on that wall and really ride it with big angle, and that would be, it's something we've seen him do, and that would be something that could set him apart for sure.
Alec has the power, as does Mad Mike Wadette. We talked about the progression of Mad Mike Wadette and the debut and him coming back into Formula Drift US and Formula Drift Japan. He won at Ebisu in just such a dynamic fashion. He drove the Magic-built FD RX-7, which is the humble, and just took all those settings and applied them to this MX-5. He says he's ready to go. As well as Honadale, he was struggling with the vehicle, didn't particularly like the setup, didn't feel right, but then he says, boom, I came to Montreal. He says this is a completely different car, and I think he's regained some confidence here in the latter portion of this season. So here comes Alec Honadale initiating the 2F performance bumper, of course falling off. Wouldn't be Alec Honadale if he didn't lose a bumper in the run, right? As now he is high on the bank, coming into the touch and go. Doesn't get all the way out to that line, Mad Mike Wadette. So it seems like in the chase position, a lot of these guys, big angle from Alec Honadale around that final clip, and Mad Mike Wadette giving chase. Man, really, really difficult. And like I said, very dynamic drivers.
Well, real interesting run here. You can see Alec does attempt to go higher on the bank. Mike falls down a little bit, similar to what Alex did. You can see, or Alec did. You can see the separation, and then as Alec comes off the bank, he straightens out just a little bit for a second there, gets the angle back, and Mike is still struggling to close the distance here. He does so a little bit right into inside clip number 2, but I mean, definitely wasn't as close as Alec was on run number 1.
Yeah, and you know, Alec really closed the door in the latter part of the track, which at the end of the track there makes it really exciting, and it's kind of the last thing we remember. But he had a pretty good beginning of the track too. In this case, Mad Mike did not have the good part earlier on, so lacking that close part throughout the rest of the course kind of puts him behind in that sense. He doesn't have that strong finish to back up the kind of poor earlier part of the track.
All right, so dissecting it there, it's a lot to take in and really focus on, like I said, 2 very dynamic drivers. That MX-5, very fast, exciting, it's loud. And then Alec Honadale, his car's just as loud. I mean, you can hear it wheezing there on the line. And then when he hits the throttle and blips it on the bank, a lot of smoke emits out the back of the vehicle. So Nexen and Nitto tires underneath each vehicle. And man, two great drivers there. Why don't you give it up for Mad Mike Wadette and Alec Honadale, 2 very fun drivers. We'll see. Unfortunately, are we going to have a winner here? And it looks like yes. Alec Honadale gets the win. Alec Honadale gets the win as Mad Mike Wadette gets knocked out. So unfortunately, that again, that first rear clipping zone seeming to be the Achilles heel for a few of the drivers, and that being, I think, Ryan, would you say you guys are focusing a lot of attention, because if you're off on that first rear clipping zone, that's really kind of a ding on your side and against you.
It is. As we said earlier, it's the most difficult part of the track by far. The speed that the guys are achieving around that bank and trying to get the car right up on that wall. It's a very fine line when you're up on that wall. It can be amazing, or if you're a couple of inches too far, too close to that wall, it can be, disastrous. So that's where we really deem the importance on the course.
Okay, so Jonathan Castro, Michael Essa, they are ready to do battle. Michael Essa and Castro have gone against each other one time before, with Michael Essa getting the victory. Now, Michael Essa qualified 4th compared to Jonathan Castro's 29th. Castro, a strong showing in Orlando. We'll see how he does here against Michael Essa, a former Formula Drift champion. So as we are waiting on the line, loudmouth exhaust, BMW on Achilles radial, Jonathan Castro next in tires. Toyota GT86, here comes Essa into the bank. Early separation, Essa high on the bank, nice job. Castro dropping low. Coming in the power alley, the BMW gets out to that yellow line. Castro does as well, nice execution, but now lacking the angle, diving in. Nosing in on the door of Essa. Essa, oh, a big mistake by Essa. A dominant performance up until that point. Ryan, if you're going to start it, you got to finish it. That is really going to hurt Michael Essa's chances in advancing here, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough break, because it seems like a clear spin with no affecting from Jonathan Castro. But I mean, this is, just the best Michael Essa we've seen in quite some time. Pretty high on the bank, solid and smooth, consistent. He throws big angle here on the touch and go. Castro starts reeling it in, but it's really not going to matter too much, because as Essa comes into this last section of the course, he overextends himself, and you can see he spins out, and Jonathan Castro has to avoid him. I mean, what more can we say about that, Ryan Lantane?
That was one of my favorite infields so far that I've seen, coming through the touch and go, throwing big angle at outside zone 2. He had big angle going by inside clip 1. He might have missed it a little bit, but he had great angle through there. It's just unfortunate. It was such a strong run from Essa, and from his perspective, looking at Castro's chase, Castro wasn't doing a great job on outside zone 1. No. So that was a real opportunity for Essa to have an advantage in this run, but unfortunately now he has a 0.
Castro got a real lucky break there. A big break for him. Is he going to seize the moment? He's out front. Essa's, I have a feeling Essa's just going to throw it to the door. I mean, he has nothing to lose at this point.
Absolutely nothing to lose. I think, as far as Castro's spotter is concerned, it's settle your nerves, go out there, and do a qualifying run.
Looking at all the spotters here in the grandstands, yeah, that's exactly what he needs to do. So we'll see Castro, see if he can hang it out, get up on the wall, kind of a slow crawl, rolling into that angle. Not a big, nasty initiation. Higher on the bank than he was in the chase position, but like I said, Michael Essa, he's striking with a vengeance. Coming into that second rear clipping zone, there it is, wheel to wheel from Essa. Jonathan Castro going through the course. But Ryan, you can't count out, unfortunately, that spin in that first run by Essa.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough break for Essa here. I mean, obviously you can see he's looking to be aggressive from the onset. He attacks right from initiation. Now, Jonathan Castro would need to force a big mistake here, or rather, Michael Essa would need to force a big mistake here, equaling a 0 in order for him to have an opportunity for one more time, but he doesn't do that, does he, Ryan?
No, unfortunately not. It's I know what you're trying to say. He's trying to unsettle Castro. He's trying to get in his, right in his door and freak him out a little bit, make him make a mistake. But Castro didn't lay down the best run, but it was a clean run. Wasn't as high as he could be. Didn't have the most angle, but it's not enough to overcome a 0.
Well, the spotters are paying attention, Ryan, to what you're saying. You liked how Essa executed there on the infield, but unfortunately you got to finish it. Put an exclamation point on it. Here we go. Let's make it official. Jonathan Castro gets the win. Jonathan Castro in the Next in Tires GT86 gets the win. Unfortunately for Michael Essa, that loudmouth exhaust Achilles radial vehicle, the BMW, qualified 4th. A great showing. Unfortunately, his weekend's done. So before we move on to our next battle, our girl on the ground, Lorette Nickel, caught up with former Formula Drift champion, Formula Drift veteran, Daijiro Yoshihara.
Thank you so much, Dai. Unfortunately, dealing with some issues an inconsistency. Walk us through what you're facing.
Well, it's not a biggest issue I have, but the power steering is not working consistently. So when I'm coming out from the bank, it always binds. So it's kind of making me a hard time driving through the course right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you adapt to something like that?
Well, as long as I'm online, and I can make the pass no problem. Just when I follow someone, when I'm doing like correction and stuff, sometimes it doesn't work as I want it to be. So it's not going to be easy, but should be good. I don't want to, be negative about it. Yeah.
Well, with a smile, we wish you the best of luck, Dai. Thank you so much, guys. Back to you.
Thank you, Lorette, and good luck, Dai Yoshihara. I mean, you saw it's kind of started out like problems. This if I'm online, it'll be good. That's how he ended it. That's Dai's spirit, right?
Hey, he's got the right attitude. That's the most important thing.
All right, so Dai Yoshihara is scheduled to do battle with Alex Hillbrun later, the Peruvian driver in that what's deemed the monster BMW. We're revisiting the one more time of Dean Carney and Kristoffs Blues, and we saw both of them kind of flourish in the lead position, struggling in the chase position. A lot of wobbling in that chase position.
Yeah, you want both drivers to take what they learned from the first battle, see if they can really emphasize the solid parts and try to take away the negative parts that cost them one more time, see if we can get it to go in one direction or the other.
Lantain, I feel like I'm seeing a lot of the chase drivers forego that touch and go. Do you think they're getting blinded by the smoke? That's a factor. I mean, that smoke signal, that's a signal that he's lighting up.
Yeah, you really need to fill everything. You need to mimic what that lead driver's doing. And if you're missing some of the vital points of the track, such as the touch and go or outside zone 2, it's gonna be held against you for sure.
You want to use the whole course, and like I said, Kaufman, we saw quite a few of them, going through our battles previously. They really didn't get out that touch and go at all.
Yeah, you need to do whatever that lead driver's doing and go where he's going. So if you're not doing that, if he does it better in his chase run, then you're going to be in trouble.
And of course, you got to start strong here on that first rear clipping zone. Our one more time battle here in the next entire top 32. Kristoffs Blues, car number 80 HGK, Motul, Wisefab, BMW, and the Oracle Lighting Dodge Viper on Achilles radials. Dean Carney giving chase. Here we go. Looking a lot more settled, gaining some knowledge on that first battle on both the drivers. Kristoffs into the touch and go. There's Dean as well. Look at that, diving in as the Dodge Viper. Nice job by Dean Carney, knocking over that front flip. Good execution, good battle. Using all the course there, Ryan. I like that. That seemed like, all right, get back.
Yeah, good way to start off between these two. You can see Kristoffs definitely higher on the bank this time around. Dean sticking with him right there. Maybe just a little bit lower, but barely noticeable. And then coming off the bank here is going to be amazing as Dean just shoots right up on the inside in the pocket right there, close the door, and both drivers looking very solid, Ryan Lantain.
Yeah, Dean did a great job of chasing. He had a great lead to chase, though, so that's always a factor as well. The one thing that I see that Dean likes to do is coming by touch and go to the outside zone 2. What he does is, as he rotates his car, he forgoes getting out to outside zone 2 to gain proximity and try to dip in on right on the side of the lead car. So that's something we take notice of, and it's going to depend what Kristoffs does in his chase run and how well he fills both of those areas.
So here we go, Dean Carney now out front, Oracle Lighting, Dodge Viper, Achilles radials, and Kristoffs Blues from Latvia gaining his first podium in Orlando. Would love to get back up there. The car's refreshed. He took a break from Montreal. We didn't see him up there. I think this track really suits Kristoffs' style. I think if he just gather his thoughts, this is his second season in Formula Drift, and he's ready to go. But Dean Carney, he's been working hard on that Dodge Viper. Definitely a hard-working man, hard-traveling man. Traveling all over from his native Ireland. I know they're cheering him on at the local pub. As look at this. Now Dean high on the bank. Kristoffs, some wavering, dropping down lower. Dean doesn't get all the way out to that touch and go as Kristoffs. He has that power, but is he using it properly? Whoa, Kristoffs. An exciting way to end around that final clip, but let's dissect this, Ryan.
Well, this was definitely, from my perspective, a pretty solid lead run from Dean Carney. You can see right here, Kristoffs, similar to what he did on run number 1. A little bit of wavering, lacking in the angle here as he's trying to keep proximity, but it seems like maybe he's got a little bit too much grip in the car and has to make some adjustments, and he makes another mistake again right here, Ryan.
Yeah, Dean did a great job in the lead position, up high on the bank, no wavering or anything like that, but unfortunately, Kristoffs in the chase position was trying to maintain that proximity, but it caused him to falter quite a bit. He had a lot of bobbling there, lost angle quite a bit as well, and just didn't have the mimic that we were looking for. And he did drop a tire just before inside clip 1 as well.
Yeah, and that if it was a qualifying run, a deduction, not a 0. You know, years past, that's just a deduction. So taking all that things into perspective, we have our judges' verdict: Dean Carney or Kristoffs Blues, and Dean Carney, the Oracle Lighting Dodge Viper on Achilles radials, gets the win. Seems like he really gathered his knowledge. I'm sure his spotter said, look, Kristoffs has a good lead run. You could chase it. He did a great job chasing, but unfortunately for Kristoffs, I think it was over right there at the beginning.
And I'm really happy to see that these guys are listening. Maybe the spotters are listening to what we're saying here, and they're relaying that information to the drivers. Sometimes you see a set of battles and they're not great, and then we go one more time and they make the same mistakes again. But thankfully here, Dean really must have listened or cleaned up his act, and he did what we were looking for the most part throughout the course, lead and chase.
Yep, I liked it. So we're advancing on here to our next battle, and this should be a good one. Tanner Foust, Justin Pollock. Two-time Formula Drift champion Tanner Foust choosing some selected rounds of Formula Drift this year. We have 16 cylinders on track. Yes, that's a V8 under the hood of that Rockstar energy drink Volkswagen Passat on Nexen tires. But man, Justin Pollock threw out some really gangster entries and just initiation. He really, how I really look at him is, you know, he came from really emulating the Japanese style, and now the boy from Michigan is behind the wheel of a Ford Mustang for numerous years. He has this really fusion style that's really exciting to watch. Tanner Foust pouring on that angle, very calm and collected, poised. Here comes Justin Pollock into the power alley. Tanner Foust not getting out to that touch and go, allowing Justin Pollock. So that's that attitude of Justin Pollock getting up there. Right, break it down. You saw him lunge forward. Did it pay off?
Well, I don't think that he got, Justin, that is, he got the greatest start here. You can see Tanner initiates, gets nice and high on the bank right out of the gate. Justin is falling back a little bit. He's on a little bit of a lower line here. And he notices that he's on a little bit of a lower line as you get into the power alley here. He's going to try to surge forward into an attack position, but he makes a mistake by getting too aggressive and having to pull angle out of the car. Yeah,
the car looks like it over-rotated, and then the front end ended up washing out on him, and he had to kind of reinitiate almost there. On the bank, he was pretty much in the second lane down, whereas Tanner was up in the top lane. So not the best chase from Pollock. We've definitely seen better. See what he does in the lead now.
In your mind, from a judge's perspective, when you see what you just mentioned, the bank, and then from the transition and the mistake and pulling some angle out with the front end washing out, what would he need to do to overcome that? I mean, if he ran up a 100-point run right here, would Tanner have to make equal mistakes, or?
Yeah, Tanner's going to have to put together a really clean chase, but Justin's going to have to outdo what Tanner did in the lead, and Tanner did put together a pretty good lead. He might have been off the touch and go slightly, but other than that, he was pretty good.
So Justin Pollock will now lead Tanner Foust. Like you said, that start out of the gate seemed that Tanner had the horsepower on deck, and this is the sophomore season for that Volkswagen Passat of Tanner Foust, and you know, when the car debuted, it seemed like he was really fighting it, but now it seems that he's taking that Rockstar Volkswagen Passat to a great place. Here we go. Justin Pollock, a lot more comfortable out front, pouring some more angle at it, lighting those Falcon tires, the Roush Performance Ford Mustang. Tanner Foust just dropping into formation, gets thrown off there by that touch and go. Again, that big sedan, really hard, not as nimble as some of these other cars, and it seemed that Tanner Foust really got checked up there on that touch and go area.
Well, it's actually pretty similar from my perspective. I mean, not exact, but you can see Tanner is closer to JTP on the onset, but look how much wavering he has as Justin's putting on a pretty solid lead run here. And then the same situation, trying to close the door is Tanner Foust. He comes in on the inside, loses some angle there, not quite washes out, but makes a pretty sizable mistake. Ryan, how do you see it?
Yeah, Tanner got out to the touch and go behind Justin, but he didn't let the car rotate properly and fill outside zone 2. So it definitely had a long e-brake pull there to try to get the car around that yellow line without going over that line. So not the best chase run, unfortunately. All he had to do is mimic Justin, put together a decent run, and he could have probably walked away with the win. But it's kind of iffy now. It's up in the air between both of them.
Seems that Pollock just has a really fun style again to watch. Like no risk it, no biscuit. Kind of throws it all out there and just has a lot of personality in his driving. So Justin Pollock, Tanner Foust. Here is the verdict. Brian, Andy, and Ryan, and one more time they're going at it again. Ryan Sage, do you agree with that call? Obviously, we have Ryan Lantain in our ear, but do you agree with that call?
Yeah, I think if you would have given the win to Tanner, I could definitely see Justin being, certainly upset with that. Tanner did make a similar mistake from outside zone number 2 and inside clip number 1. JTP washed out, I guess, in a little bit more of an aggressive way, but it was still a pretty equal mistake. I think we're splitting hairs at that point.
Yeah, both really good lead runs. I think it really comes down to that chase run once again, and that seems to be the reoccurring theme because, you look at the higher qualifying drivers, they know how to put it down. But when it comes to chase, you have all the elements. You have the smoke, you have using on the, trusting the lead driver, and we're about to see it unfold again. Chris Forsberg versus Cameron Moore. Cameron Moore from the Pacific Northwest right here. Chris Forsberg, 2-time champion. He's been on the podium here in Seattle before. Another Formula Drift veteran, as Forsberg will lead. Cameron Moore will give chase. So they go through the start chicane. Forsberg will lead the Essa Energy 370Z. Cameron Moore, nameless performance on Falcon tires. Forsberg some wavering there in the lead position, but high on the bank. Cameron Moore diving in, getting aggressive there. Getting a touch and go as Forsberg makes it out to the second rear clipping zone. Cameron Moore pulling across the finish line.
Well, the biggest thing for me is going to be taking a look at Cameron Moore coming off the bank into the touch and go and into outer zone at number 2. You can see he's struggling quite a bit to maintain the line that Forsberg has, but right here as he comes off the bank, it looks like he washes out a little bit, straightens out, and he's not really able to get back to the angle on the line that Chris had as he gets out to the second outer zone. Is that how you see it, Ryan?
Yeah, as soon as he made that mistake, his momentum and timing was all off, and he couldn't get the car in the right spot and didn't have that momentum to carry him out to outside zone 2. So at that point, it's try to get on the throttle and then grab a whole lot of e-brake to keep angle and drag it out there. But pretty serious mistake from my point of view. So he's going to have to put together a flawless lead run in this case.
Yeah, one of those cases is Castro and Essa. You saw Essa make the mistake, and now, but I guess it's the alternate there as Cameron Moore made the mistakes in the chase position. Let's see how Forsberg's going to chase him down. We saw these guys do battle against each other in quite different conditions. It was in the wet in Long Beach, California, and Cameron Moore, he's been dealt quite a few heavy battles. Gittin Jr., Forsberg, Matt Field in Canada. So let's see how Cameron Moore comes out on top. Get knocked out by, again, the 2-time Formula Drift champion of Chris Forsberg. Cameron Moore initiating, looking a lot more solid here, getting up to that wall. Chris Forsberg into the power rally. Cameron Moore putting his car in the right place. Forsberg diving in on the inside. Cameron Moore taking out that front clip, crawling around that final front clip is Cameron Moore and Chris Forsberg. Let's take a look at this again here, Ryan.
Well, Chris's spotter, Scott, is definitely one of the best in the game, and you certainly have to know that he's going to be in Chris's ear, giving him some strategy here, knowing that Chris has a pretty sizable advantage after run number 1, but he does give him a little bit of a gap here, and Cameron takes advantage of it by staying nice and high on the bank. Good angle here. Forsberg sees it. He closes the door pretty much immediately, but how much of a deficit would that be for Forsberg on the outside zone number 1?
Yeah, I was keeping my eye on the initiation. You could see that Forsberg, when he was behind Moore, there was a little hesitation. I don't know what was going on at the initiation point, and it might have thrown Forsberg off a little bit. And you could see that there was a distance definitely on the bank, but once he got to the infield, definitely caught up and made a good run of it.
As we wait for the judges' verdict, Cameron Moore, nameless performance, Falcon Tires SC. He's from here in the Pacific Northwest. Chris Forsberg, we've seen him on the podium here before. We're celebrating 10 years of Formula Drift action here. Who was here the first year? 10 years ago. Show of hands. A few of you hardcore fans. How many people was your first year out here? All right, quite a few. Thank you so much. Here we go. Here's the verdict. Cameron Moore or Chris Forsberg. Slide him right for Forsberg, left for Moore. And there's a one more time. Andy and Ryan say Chris Forsberg gets the win. 2-1. 2-1 as Chris Forsberg gets the win, taking out Cameron Moore. So one of the judges saying one more time, and the other two saying Chris Forsberg. So as we move our way through the battles, again, we'll revisit the one more time of Foust and Pollock. Our own Lorette Nickel caught up with Long Beach round 1 winner Chelsea Denofa, who's seems like he's having some issues out here at Seattle.
Thank you guys so much. Chelsea Denofa, unfortunately dealing with 4 cylinders. Chelsea, walk us through what you're dealing with.
Yeah, we're down about 2 cylinders in the car, which is probably about half the power we normally would have. It's been a little bit of an issue here in the last few rounds, blowing motors and having this problem particularly. The crew knows exactly what to do quickly to fix it and get it to the point where we're able to drive, but it's still going to be seriously down on power. And with the big banks here in Seattle, it's going to be pretty tough. You know, trying to take those steps to make this thing reliable, to compete with these guys with 9 to under to 1,000 horsepower is tough, but, you know, we're probably going to have to take the next step and see what kind of better motor we can put in this thing.
What are the next steps for you?
The next steps are probably going to be, you know, changing the engine platform. We've kind of made this motor like to the max it can be, and it can't hang on anymore. So maybe something with a little bit more power, more cylinders, bigger motor maybe in general. Just try to find something that's reliable but yet fits into our pretty low budget for the rest of the season. So hopefully we'll have something ironed out for Texas.
Chelsea, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thank you, Lorette, and thank you, Chelsea. Denofa, look at that, kind of alluding to some more horsepower there. Again, by comparison, you know, you look at drifting, the progression of it. It's not just all about V8, the variety of 2JZs, and you see the rotary still involved in the game. But just I say that, here's 2 V8 vehicles ready to do battle. You see Alex Hillbrun from Peru. He's just absolutely dominated Pro 2 last year. This is Formula Drift rookie season, going against a Formula Drift veteran of Yoshihara. Lorette Nickel catching up with him, saying power steering an issue for him in that turn 14 distribution. Falcon tires, turbo V8 BRZ. It's a mouthful and it's a steering wheel full, a Momo steering wheel full for Yoshihara. But Alex Hillbrun, he's going to try to give it to the former Formula Drift champion of Yoshihara. We are ready to see what unfolds here. And here we go. Yoshihara will lead. Alex Hillbrun will give chase. Quick little feint right in front of Alex. Both cars looking calm, cool, collect is Yoshihara. Alex Hillbrun right there tucking in that cloud of smoke. Oh, and Alex Hillbrun goes in on the inside. And that front right wheel is not where it should be, unfortunately. As Alex Hillbrun comes to a halt, Yoshihara. So let's take a look at this again, Ryan.
Yeah, big wreck here. You can see Dai starting off. Alex playing a little bit of catch up as he's trying to get to angle with Daijiro Yoshihara. Dai is nice and high on the bank here, and obviously the big action is going to be right here as Alex comes through the smoke cloud here. He straightens out a little bit, doesn't let Dai transition, and then hits the wall right there in the crease. Yeah,
he really positioned his car in the wrong spot. Tried to attack, but he might have attacked a little bit early and didn't give Dai the room to rotate into the outside zone, and got right into the wall, pushing the wall out of the way actually a little bit. So that's going to be a big cleanup.
So taking a look at this again, yeah, you see Alex Hillbrun doesn't go out to that touch and go. Yoshihara does. You see Alex dive in on the inside. So we'll take a look, inspect, make sure everybody's okay. We're seeing Yoshihara move. Everything's cool. Seeing a lot of smoke come out from underneath his vehicle. Obviously contact. Look at that back right wheel of Yoshihara. So a lot of contact made on course, on the walls. We'll take a quick break, inspect the damage, make sure everybody's okay. Thanks for joining us out here. The throwdown, literally and figuratively. Alex Hillbrun, Yoshihara. Take a quick break here. Jared Deanda, Ryan Sage, and Ryan Lontaine, your tour guides for round 6 of the Formula Drift Championship, presented by Blackview Dash Cameras. All right, well, we are cleaning up the track here. Again, Alex Hillbrun. A lot of carnage here between Alex and even Yoshihara, that back right corner. As we talked about Yoshihara having a power steering issue, Alex Hillbrun, we're really dissecting all the angles to see what transpired here. So as we get the track cleaned up, get the cars off course, we'll continue action. But first, talking about carnage, we saw some practice yesterday. Gittin Jr., who ended up eventually being our #1 qualifier. It's kind of like we can bring it up because he took the front left corner off his vehicle on that early initiation into the first rear clipping zone, took out his front left corner, and then comes back and qualifies #1. But Lorette Nickel caught up with him and talking about his weekend here in Seattle.
Thank you, guys. Gittin Jr., nothing like a little pressure, but obviously he thrives under pressure, going into the wall in practice. What did your team have to do in order to rebuild your car?
Yeah, it was, the hit wasn't really that bad. It was just on the wall for a while, and We had just actually got some brand new American Racing wheels, so fortunately they held together and didn't break because it would have been a lot worse. But actually, because they didn't break, it actually ripped the whole wheel bearing off and bent the front lower control arm, which was actually best case scenario for that. So when the car came back in, the guys basically changed the whole front corner of the car, lower control arm, our strut, and our sway bar links and everything under there. Basically, new rear wheel, new front left wheel, and we were back out in practice within an hour. I was shocked. I always say it. I got the most amazing guys here on the grid, and I'm very fortunate for that. But got back out and got a couple laps in practice. Threw down my first qualifying run and ended up like 11th. And then second qualifying run, just tossed it in and went hard and got first place qualifier, which is always good, right? Leading first is always a great thing because it really lets you get some data for what you're running against and what they brought. So, so I'm pumped. I'm just enjoying Seattle.
Good. Well, a slightly adjusted track from last year. Are you happy with how the layout is?
Yeah, I mean, it flows a little bit better. When the wall was there and that was that really quick U-turn, it was a choke point, and a lot of people got caught up and choked there, and the crowd couldn't really see because the wall was in the way. So, whatever's best for the fans is, I'm down for. And, I enjoy it. Look, we all have to play on the same track. So, they've changed it. I think it flows a little better. The power alley is a little tighter, so it's a little more technical to really make sure you hit the right marks. But yeah, all in all, it's fun. This track is a blast. The bank, I mean, you're just up there forever. You're just up there, just full matted, just looking at the wall the whole time. So I'm having a good time.
All right, Vaughn, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Guys, back to you.
Thank you, Lorette. Thank you, Vaughn Gittin Jr. Good luck to you. He's advancing on to the top 16, one of just a select few at this point as we're advancing our way through the top 32. We are still cleaning up on track. You see Yoshihara waiting patiently, getting his turn 14 distribution Falcon Tire ARC design vehicle off the track. And then we will continue on with action. So another short break here. Make sure everything is up to snuff. Safety, our #1 priority. Make sure everybody's okay. Get the track cleaned up. And we'll continue on with what's deemed the throwdown here at Evergreen Speedway for round 6 of 8 of the Formula Drift Championship. I'm Jared Deenda when we come back. All right, Drift fans, thank you for tuning in and being here in the building. We could see Daijiro Yoshihara's vehicle in the pits, and it's being basically unloaded there off the tow truck. So real quick, Farukq Osbo, Lorette Nickel caught up with him earlier today about some changes he made to his vehicle.
So much. Farukq Osbo told me that he's trying to get his initiation dialed in. So Farukq, how do you do that?
Oh boy, how do you do that? Well, we did reasonably well in qualifying yesterday. Ended up 7th, 2 points out of the lead. But a lot of these guys are super fast into the bank, and I'm having a little bit of trouble staying with them. So we made some changes to our RSR shocks, trying to get some grip down in the start of the bank. Problem is we haven't gotten to test it yet, so here goes. Let's see how it'll all turn out.
All right, Farukq, best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys?
Thank you, Lorette, and good luck to you there, Farukq Osbo, as your Rockstar Energy teammate, as well as Nexen Tires. Tanner Foust, also one-time operated by Papadakis Racing, kind of passed the torch there, but Tanner Foust re-entering Formula Drift competition. This is a one-more-time battle, Ryan. We saw Pollock and Tanner Foust go at it previously. Good battles. Both of them had kind of struggling in that chase position.
Both had very similar mistakes, and it yielded a one more time. So now both guys heading back to the line. We'll see who is going to move on into the top 16. This will finish up the left-hand side of the bracket. We still have the right-hand side to go. So it's been quite a road up until this point, but still plenty of battles to go before we make up the top 16 here in Seattle.
Tanner Foust there in the start position. Tanner Foust qualifying 13th compared to Justin Pollock's 20th. And two very dynamic drivers. Here we go. Tanner Foust through the start chicane. Clean start. You see that thing kick out towards the wall there briefly. Now he's going to kick out to it as long as he possibly can. Justin Pollock, a lot more settled, high on the bank. A nice job by Pollock chasing him down. Tanner Foust looking calm. Pollock gets out to that touch and go. Here comes Foust into that front clip. Both of them navigating it. And bring it across the finish line. A lot better, I have to say, than their first run.
Well, again, another solid lead run from Tanner Foust. This time, Justin Pollock is able to button up his chase a little bit. You can see he's locked and consistent, but there's a little bit of separation there, and obviously that's a pretty weighted part of the course. Ryan, what do you see here from Tanner Foust in the JTP in run number 2?
I like Tanner's infield, at the beginning of the infield, I should say. His rotation here, he kind of got
proximity, not as much angle. You can see him locking up that front right tire. A lot of left foot brake there from Tanner Foust. Coming to the touch and go. Justin Pollock getting out of that touch and go. Transitioning is Foust. Pollock, now Foust lunges forward. Can he make this transition here? Seems to be struggling there, but dials it in. So Ryan dissecting both of those. Saw Tanner Foust getting aggressive there on the chase.
Well, definitely really interesting and close battle. Once again, you can see Tanner super close on outer zone number 1. Not quite the angle that JTP has. JTP looks very settled here. Tanner looking for an opportunity to kind of get a little bit more angle in the car as JTP gets into that touch and go. Tanner nearly makes contact with him, and then Ryan pick it up here. What do you see from Tanner and JTP?
through the end part of the course here. A really good mimic from Tanner. Good chase. Justin puts together a good lead in that infield. The one thing that's going to set them apart is definitely Tanner's proximity with less angle on outside zone 1. You know, I guess you have to weigh what you'd rather do. Want to be a little bit closer, less angle, or be a little bit further away with the same angle. It's always hard to try to balance those two, and it's something that we always battle with in the drivers' meetings for sure.
Comparatively speaking, JTP less proximity, similar angle on outer zone 1. Tanner less angle, closer proximity. How do you compare those two?
It's a tough one to compare. It's going to come down to each judge and how they weigh that difference, I guess you can say. I personally prefer. I like proximity. I like it when they're really close together, but I'd prefer to see them close with the same angle, of course.
So again, that going in the power alley too, it seemed that Tanner Foust kind of struggled once again to got out to touch and go, but did not seem to make it out to outside clipping zone 2. So we'll wait to see what has transpired from our 3 judges, and this is the one more time battle. Justin Pollock, Tanner Foust, Brian, Andy, and Ryan. Tanner Foust gets the win. Tanner Foust gets the win, and it's unanimous. Tanner Foust gets the win and advances on to the top 16. Ryan Lontaine, a little elaboration there on Tanner Foust, and it was unanimous.
Yeah, like I was saying, it's really difficult to weigh the two against each other, and maybe you can make them even. But what I didn't like was Justin's big straighten. Well, I call it a big straighten. It was a pretty serious correction that he made in the infield there, going out to outside zone 2. I didn't like the way he straight lined it to catch up to Tanner, and that's what did it for me. Had he not done that, I probably would have gone with a different answer.
All right. Thank you for your insight. And Chelsea Denofa, Odi Bakshi's our next battle. We're officially halfway through the top 32. This long course, I mean, it just seems that we're kind of trudging away here as far as the top 32 competition, but we've seen some exciting battles.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been fun to watch here in Seattle. It always brings out the best in everybody, and
so Chelsea Denofa leaving the start line as Odi Bakshi's standing there on the start line. Don't know if the interesting turn of events there.
So what we're hearing is that Chelsea went really, really early, and then as Odi got out of the gate here, he actually hits a cone, so it's a restart either way.
Maybe elaborate a little bit on that, because you said he left early. That is allowed. Yeah,
the chase driver can leave early so long as they give room for the lead driver to initiate. As you can see, and one thing we should also say is that Denofa is running on 4 cylinders, so he is basically the car's in patchwork essentially right now. Yeah, so he's trying to get every advantage he can. Odi hit a cone, which is an automatic restart, so either way. Even with some weirdness there, it's going to be a restart again. But Denofa is saying, look, I saw him during the break. He said, I'm going to throw a bunch of NOS at it, a bunch of boost at it, see what happens.
I'm going to grenade this thing.
If I grenade it, then I know I'm going to have to go buy a
Okay, so there's another early start there, and it is a clean start. So, yeah, and I'm sure the line of communication between Odi and Chelsea was like, hey, Odi, FYI, I am down on major horsepower, but Chelsea Denofa, I saw his Instagram post. He said, drive it into the ground is what he said. So you can see it there, very evident that Chelsea Denofa struggling, but now he gains that proximity. Still puts on a show here. Odi Bakshi's a solid lead run. Chelsea Denofa just unfortunately nowhere to be found, and rightfully so. Way down in horsepower.
Yeah, certainly just trying to do everything he can to put a fight to Odi. Big separation here on the bank, but Ryan, it's pretty interesting. He actually catches up in the power alley and into outer zone number 2.
Yeah, he took a different line coming off of outside zone 1 and completely missed touch and go to try to gain that proximity, and he did later on in the track, but he didn't do it really in the right way, I guess you could say. You're supposed to mimic and chase what the lead car is doing, but he's doing the best that he can with the power and everything that he has.
Now, how interesting is this, where Chelsea Denofa and Odi Bakshi. So now Chelsea Denofa looks like we'll see if he calls a competition timeout. You could see it under manpower, not horsepower. They're being pushed off. So we are hearing here that Chelsea Denofa is calling a competition timeout in his lead run. We've heard about just the gremlins, and we are hearing that Yoshihara. So Ryan, digressing. So again, right now, competition timeout for Chelsea Denofa. We'll see if he comes back, or is Odi going to get the win. But then digressing back to Alex Hillbrun and Yoshihara. Alex goes into the wall. Obviously, incidents happen. Maybe elaborate a little bit on that.
Yeah, he sustained a lot of damage when he made contact with Daijiro Yoshihara, and then subsequently the wall. He's decided to bow out of competition. Dai just needs to show that his car is operable. He had 10 minutes to be able to do that. It was able to be done in 10 minutes, so now he just needs to show that his car is functional, and so long as he makes a pass here, everything will be fine. So he looks like he will be able to continue on. If there was a situation where he couldn't repair his vehicle in 10 minutes, he would get the win, but he wouldn't be able to move on.
Okay, so he'd get the respectable points, but not be able to compete in the top 16.
Right, and that the reason why that's in place is so that teams are basically not taking forever to fix their
Right.
vehicle and taking advantage of the situation. So they have an amount of time to fix it, which is 10 minutes. And if they're able to do that, then they can get to the line and they'll be able to move on into the next round.
Yoshihara on the start line. This is his bye run to advance onto the top 16 as Alex Hillbrun and his IMR Racing team, or IMR. BMW, and let's get Yoshihara running through the course. And there we go. So Yoshihara leaves the start line, and this might, we said, hey, we want to see you drifting, but just basically show that your car runs, and this is a good opportunity for him to make sure everything's up to snuff. If he's advancing on top 16, and yeah, Yoshihara not holding anything back. Oh gosh! And just as I say that, an incident for Yoshihara, a hard hit there on that front left. Oh man, a bummer for Yoshihara. Ryan, just let's take a look at it again here online.
Yeah, I mean, Lantane, you tell me what you think, but this certainly looks like something broke here. You can see he's at lock, and then right there.
Yeah. He's on throttle. There's definitely no lift or anything like that. You can see that he does lock up the front wheels as it turns in towards the wall. So there must have been some kind of alignment issue there that arose as he was coming around and sent him into the wall. It's unfortunate.
I mean, it's unfortunate that that happened to him, and I'm glad to see that he's looking okay. He will still move on into the top 16 because his car was able to be functional, but unfortunately his team is going to have a lot of work to do between now and the top 16, and you hope that they've got all the parts that they need in order to get Dai back out. The challenging part will be is that he's going to be going into the top 16 assuming he can make it with a completely fresh vehicle and not having any opportunity to shake it down.
Yeah, just back-to-back tow truck exits. That's just unfortunate, and just within one battle. So unfortunate for Yoshihara. Yeah, that front left corner causing some issues. So we'll hopefully get him over, or get him ready for top 16 battle as Yoshihara takes his helmet off, and we'll take another quick break. But before that, we saw Laurent Nickel catching up with, again, a rising star here in the Formula Drift competition, and that is Alec Honadale.
Congratulations to Alec Honadale. Moving on, he told me, I think you were being a little bit hard on yourself, but he told me there was a little bit of understeer. So how do you adjust that for your next run?
Yeah, so coming off the bank, I had a little bit of understeer issues. I think it was just a little bit of driver error. I'm just hanging on the e-brake a little bit too long without getting on throttle. So just going to floor it out there and just push through it and get even closer on the door. So it's time to have some fun.
Well, maybe what a lot of people don't think about is how nerve-wracking qualifying and top 32 are. Walk us through that.
Qualifying is one of the most nerve-wracking things in this sport. It's really the make it or break it point. You're either in the show or you're not. Top 32 is like that kind of, you're already in, but you're not all the way in yet. And you want to make it to the big show. You want to be on the TV and everything. So that's, once you get through it, everything kind of settles down. And we're just going to put on some good runs in top 16 and try to get even better than last year.
Alec, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thank you, Lorette. Congratulations to Alec Honadale, the Ninjuku Racing Gittin Laboratory V8-powered S14. We'll be seeing him in top 16, as well as Yoshihara. We're seeing him get lifted off course once again, unfortunately, for the Turn 14 distribution. Turbocharged BRZ on Falcon tires. When we come back, we'll advance on to our next battle, or we're going to revisit the, again, Chelsea Denofa calling that competition time out to go against Odi Bakshis. We're halfway through the top 32 here at round 6 of the Formula Drift Championship presented by Blackview Dash Cameras. Welcome back here. Beautiful backdrop here in Monroe, Washington, Evergreen Speedway. Celebrating 10 years we've been coming here, 13th Formula Drift season. So thank you to all the hardcore fans watching, tuning in across the globe or here in the building. Some of the best fans in the Formula Drift sanctioning body and the championship. I mean, but that's, I mean, you look overall, Montreal, Atlanta, I mean, obviously Texas now, you know, just creating traditions. Even Orlando had some great fans, but just collectively, just so much history here as far as Formula Drift and drifting. They have a great event here at Evergreen Speedway, and again, Evergreen Drift. So Chelsea Denofa, competition timeout. He used it. Is it going to be enough? Did he turn enough bolts? Did he tune it up just right? 4 cylinders. He said he's down 2. How is he going to fare right now? It looks like he's firing on all, regardless of amount of cylinders. Looks like 4. Chelsea Denofa high on the bank. Odi Bakshi is now into the power alley, chasing him down. Chelsea Denofa, man, doesn't look like he's down any horsepower. Locking up that front left wheel. You can see it coming into that final front flip, and Chelsea Denofa brings it around tight. And Odi Bakshi's right there.
Well, no surprise here from Odi, you know, entering with a little bit of skepticism, not knowing exactly what to expect against Denofa. You can see as soon as he sees that gap there, he starts closing the door. And then Ryan, for the rest of the run, how do you interpret Denofa and Odi Bakshis?
That's pretty impressive. If Denofa's truly running on 4 cylinders, he did a pretty great job in the lead position. But Odi was right there with him all the way. He followed him wherever he went. He did reel him in on the bank. Wasn't all the way through the bank that he had no proximity, so it was pretty good. So you watch here on the first run, Chelsea definitely didn't have the proximity in that important area on outside zone 1, and he did take a bit of a shortcut right there trying to catch up, and that's not something that will be viewed very well by you know, the 3 of us up here, but he did a good job. He fought as hard as he could, and that's what he said he was going to do.
So judges digesting both runs. You have to think that obviously Chelsea knew he had to do something in order to turn it up. Can he salvage an advancement in the top 16 after that first run? And it doesn't look to be the case. Odi Bakshis gets the win. Odi Bakshis gets the win. In the R Performance Fuel Suspension, Falcon Tires, Hyundai Genesis Coupe. Chelsea Denofa unfortunately knocked out the BC Racing GT Radials BMW. Again, winner of round 1 in Long Beach. You saw him and heard him alluding to maybe more horsepower, maybe more cylinders. We'll see what he has in store, if it's going to be even next round or is it going to be next year. We'll see. Jeff Stoneback, Forrest Wang, the battle of the Wangs. We call him Jay Wang, Jeff Stoneback, Forrest Wang. So we have 2 schools of thoughts here as far as the V8 and the V8. As far as Forrest Wang running the 2JZ, Gittin Laboratory S15 Sylvia, Jeff Stoneback, VK56. It is a Nissan V8 under the hood of the 370Z. Forrest Wang initiating. High on the bank, nice smoke, good angle from Forrest Wang. Stoneback reeling him in, coming into the power alley. How's he gonna fare? Gets out to the touch and go. Stoneback a bit shallow out to the touch and go. Throwing him off the line, not enough room to really transition in, and throws him off the remainder of the course. Let's take a look at this again.
Here we go, Forrest Wang out front. You can see he's starting off pretty high on the bank here. Stoneback, a little bit of separation, trying to reel him in, but good angle by Forrest, and a very important part of the course, Ryan. You can see coming off the bank here, as Stoneback tries to attack on the inside. Force, big angle to outer zone 2.
Yeah, Forrest had a bit of a bobble coming off the bank, just coming up to the touch-and-go area, but it was nothing severe. But unfortunately, Stoneback just didn't have his car in the right place, missed that touch-and-go, and then when on the rotation to outside zone 2 was kind of in the wrong spot. Didn't look so pretty from there on. He didn't really have the proximity, or the mimic wasn't able to keep up to Forrest. Forrest did a great job. Good angle from inside clip 1 to 2 through the finish, so did a pretty good job.
Yeah, he saw that big angle, allowed Jeff to catch up, but didn't allow himself enough room to even transition when he didn't go to that touch-and-go kind of straight line to that second rear clipping zone and just couldn't transition. Otherwise, you'd lose that back end of your car. So Stoneback will lead. Forrest Wang will give chase. Yeah, Stoneback on the right there in the lead position. Stoneback from Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania cheering him on. And here we go. Stoneback, good initiation. Really settled. Is Stoneback. Forrest Wang coming into, and Stoneback way deep into that touch and go, but does get back to fill that second zone. Forrest Wang right there. The Gittin's laboratory lead scientist does a good job chasing him down.
Yeah, good start here for Stoneback, but Forrest unable to be shaken here. You can see just a little bit of separation, but Forrest starts to reel him in here, and he stays on a nice line against Stoneback, and Stoneback goes really deep into this touch and go. How big of a mistake is that, Ryan, going outside of the touch and go area?
Yeah, Stoneback put 2 tires off. He wasn't as deep in outside zone 1 as Wang was when he was leading either, so definitely a couple of mistakes on the side of Stoneback. He did not do the perfect run, that's for sure, whereas Wang definitely had a better outside zone 1, better touch and go, and just smoother in the chase position. I think Wang did a much better job mimicking what Stoneback was doing and putting his car in the right place where it needed to be.
Jeff Stoneback, Forrest Wang going to the judges, Brian, Andy, and Ryan, and it's unanimous. Forrest Wang gets the win. Forrest Wang, Gittin's laboratory Sylvia S15 advances on to the top 16, defeating Jeff Stoneback, and he heads on into the pits. So Ryan, we talked earlier there with Frederick Osbo and talking about some of the changes. He was claiming that he had a hard time hanging with the guys on the bank, changed some things up. Let's see if push comes to shove, it works out for him. As far as Frederick Osbo, 4 wins to Kyle Mohan's 1 against each other. Kyle Mohan, American Ethanol GT Radial Mazda Tricks MX-5. Frederick Osbo, Rockstar Energy Drink, SR by Toyota TC on Nexen tires. AEM Motegi Racing wheels. As Frederick Osbo, defending champion. Also, if you haven't already downloaded the Blackview app, Blackview dash cameras, we're going to let you know how you can win one, but also download the app. That's what it's all about. It's over the cloud. So if you download the app, Blackview C, the letter C, you can actually zero in here to Evergreen Speedway. We have on-car cameras on track, so you get to see and ride shotgun just real time. It's really cool. So if you haven't downloaded the app, definitely download it ASAP so you can see all the action and go in the cars and ride shotgun. Blackview dash cameras over the cloud, capture all the action. Also, be sure to visit the Blackview dash cameras booth here. Educate yourself on dash cameras, and they have special deals going on as well. Here we go. Frederick Osbo initiates in that TC. Kyle Mohan shimming his way to the door of Frederick Osbo. Osbo high and tight on the wall. Kyle Mohan gaining that proximity, coming into the power alley. Kyle Mohan cuts through that next entire smoke. They're plunging forward, nice. As Frederick Osbo executes just flawlessly. Very well done there by the defending champion. That is a Norwegian Hammer.
Well, this is pretty stereotypical Frederick Osbo. He always goes out and throws down a very solid near 100-point lead run, or the best that he can. You can see Kyle right there in the chase position, kind of shimming a little bit. Really close right there as they come off the bank. But Ryan, how do you interpret this run here with Kyle Mohan in the lead position, trying to close the door on Frederick?
Frederick looked pretty solid in the lead. He didn't really have any mistakes, no corrections throughout the course. Mohan was sawing at the wheel a little bit on outside zone 1 throughout the bank. He managed to keep okay proximity, but worked pretty hard at it. He really dove in on Osbo, and not even going on a lower line, but really was able to attack just heading into the touch and go area. So he did show some aggressiveness that we like to see from drivers in the chase position. So in Osbo's chase here, he should try to be as smooth as he can to try to show how much better he can do in the chase position.
These guys have gone against each other 5 times before, and I got to say, Kyle Mohan debuting this MX-5 this year. I think he's looking really strong. He's looking like a contender. You know, unfortunately for him, he's getting dealt one of the most consistent drivers in Formula Drift history, and quickly has received more wins than, you know, he's tied basically for the most wins and got to 7 wins, the fastest of any Formula Drift driver. Here we go. Kyle Mohan leading, Farukq Osbo giving chase. Mohan looking very strong out front. Here I'm lifting a little bit, but then coming to the power alley, banging away. Farukq Osbo maybe giving himself a bit of a cushion there, coming into that final S-turn, and then into the final clip. Kyle Mohan rotates. I was going to say, Mohan maxing out that angle, similar to Matt Kaufman. He was really nailing it, but unfortunately it didn't pay off there for Mohan.
Well, I was just about to say there's very few mistakes from Kyle Mohan in the lead position. I mean, you could maybe make one little notice coming off the bank right here. It looks like he just kind of loses a little bit of angle there for a second and gets back on throttle. Just nice job in the touch and go. But Ryan, it's obviously the spin is going to be the biggest thing, but it was solid for a lead run for the most part.
Yeah, Mohan was doing a great job in the lead. He was pushing really hard. He was really consistent on his throttle all the way through outside zone 1, really high, really smoky, looking really, really good. But unfortunately, that spin is just going to, you know, put him behind in a big way, especially since Osbo really made no mistakes.
Yeah, bummer for the Mazda Tricks GT Radial American Ethanol MX-5, but Farukq Osbo and the Rockstar Energy Drink SR by Toyota TC on Nexen tires looks like he will advance on. Going to the judges, Brian, Andy, and Ryan. It is unanimous. Farukq Osbo gets the win. The Norwegian Hammer, defending champion, also a Formula Drift Championship contender, advances on to the top 16. So our top 3 drivers, top four drivers are in. As far as you know, top 5, it would be Ken Guushi, who's later on the right side of the bracket. As we take a look inside the pit of Forrest Wang and Honadale, the Gittin Jr laboratory, it looks like they're stoked. They're all smiles there as both of those vehicles are advancing on. This should be a fun one. All S chassis battle here. Juha Rintanen, Matt Field, 777, got a new livery there, new bumper, but same rock and roll attitude from the Beast from the Bay. Matt Field and Juha Rintanen. Here we go. Matt Field initiating. Big smoke. Big angle comes from Matt Field, dropping down a little early here. Juha even lower there on the bank. Matt Field transitions through, throwing down some Falcon tire smoke in Juha's face. Juha. Matt Field dropping the RPMs, dropping the speed, but keeps it sideways across the finish line. Let's really break this down. These guys are wild.
Well, I'd love to get Ryan's interpretation right out of the gate. I mean, Matt looks very solid here, but does he come off the bank just a little bit early, even though this is a great angle here and pretty solid throttle control?
Yeah, he was probably a lane down before the end of the zone. Not terrible, though. He was up high for the majority of that. Juha had some corrections in the chase position there on outside zone 1, and Juha dropped down even more than Matt did. Coming off that zone. So right. Juha was not as solid in the chase as I'd like to see him. He had a couple of corrections and bobbles. Matt overall didn't do too bad. I'd like to see more angle from him over the finish line, though. He kind of drove over it a little bit at low angle, I'd say. Not without angle completely, but it could have been a little bit better.
And one of the areas of latitude that you've given to drivers coming off of outer zone 1 is if they want to keep staying wide in order to pick the line that they'd like, that would be okay, but just don't come off too early.
Exactly, yeah. And again, Matt came off a little bit early, but it wasn't terrible. But again, it could have been better. It's an opportunity for Juha if he wants in the lead position to try to better that.
Well, no sign of Juha right now on the start line. You're wondering if he's going to call a competition timeout. Did he have an issue with his vehicle as Matt Field awaits? And there you can see Juha on the side there in exit lane. Seeing what's going on here from Juha Rintanen. So we are calling a competition timeout, but real quick, pull out your phones real quick because you could win a Blackview dash camera. We got a moment here as Juha is calling his competition timeout, so why not text BVSEA to 38714. This is a $399 camera, the Blackview dash camera. Again, you can go real time inside the car, your own car, keeps track of it. It's really cool technology, so text BVSEA SEA to 38714 for a chance to win a free Blackview dash camera. Blackview, over the cloud. Me and my car connected. Must be 18 or over to enter. Again, text BV as in Blackview, SEA. It's the airport code for Seattle, Tacoma to 38714 for a chance to win a free Blackview dash camera. Also, now giving you away, so you have the Blackview dash camera, why not put it in a Ford Focus RS? Yes, that's right. You could win the 2017 Ford Focus RS. The hot hatchback has finally hit the U.S. soil. What's your FocusSweeps.com? Go to the website, whatsyourfocussweeps.com. Part of Ford and Ford Performance. So as we're figuring out what's going on here with Juha, looks like he is getting pulled off the course. Lorette Nickel caught up with the two-time Formula Drift champion, Tanner Foust.
Tanner Foust and I got a few seconds to catch up, and he mentioned fun factor. So tell everyone what that is.
Well, I mean, with drifting, it's what it's all about, right? But it's been, a 5 years since I've been here, and the cars have almost twice the horsepower. And this track, I always remember it feeling kind of dangerous, like almost overcommitted to get into the banking and carry a drift along the wall. With twice the horsepower now, these cars can get right up on the wall. You can really try to micromanage exactly where your bumper is, even though I have no clue where the back of this car is. It's so big. But it really makes it more fun. And it's honestly, I'm having a blast out here. It's so nice for Formula D to let me come back for just 3 events this year. The fans are amazing, and Seattle always has some of the best fans in the series, so it's one of the drivers' favorite rounds for that reason.
Okay, Tanner, and you have one of the longest cars out here. Is that a disadvantage for you?
This track, it's okay, I think. The track's pretty big. It's pretty spread out, especially they've added some more flow to it. It doesn't quite pinch off at the end of the track like it used to in previous years. The area called the Power Alley, I think I could probably put the back bumper over one side and touch the wall with the other side, so it's a little narrow, but as far as a lot of the FT tracks go, this one suits the Passat pretty well.
Okay, Tanner, thank you so much. Guys, back to you.
All right, thank you there. The golden child been deemed there as won X Games medals, rallycross competitions, and championships, as well as Formula Drift, two-time Formula Drift champion. So next up, we are going to be revisiting the Matt Field Juha battle. Right now, Pat Gooden, Tyler McCoy. They're 1 for 1 going against each other. One win on the side of McCoy, one win on the side of Gooden. This should be a fun one to watch. Tyler McCoy, some of the fastest. I mean, just visually, he looks like he is just ripping. We saw him do well in Montreal. Unfortunately, he went hard in the wall. The team pieced the car back together, and he's looking stronger than ever.
Looking like a championship contender. I mean, he's one of the quickest cars, lots of angle, and Tyler obviously has been a contender in the past. He's won some events. He's been a top star in the series. Just had a really tough break in Montreal and wasn't able to compete. But up until that point, he was 5th in points. Yeah. And in a realistic shot to make it run for it. So if he's able to continue that momentum, he certainly is one to watch. Just shows you anything can happen. Really don't give up. And that's kind of words of advice here for Pat Gooden. And taking a look at qualifying, Tyler McCoy qualifying 3rd compared to Pat Gooden's 30th. You never know. Pat Gooden, it seems like, after every round, it seems like, oh, I changed this, I did this, I'm doing that, car's feeling good, I know we can do more. Yeah, it's been fun to watch Pat mature as a driver and his program. He certainly is a future star of the sport. But he's got a big task ahead of him here in Tyler McCoy and a guy that's been running programs for a long time. Tyler McCoy will lead the Mobile 1 Safecraft Racing Equipment, Falcon Tires, GoPro Chevrolet Camaro. Then we have the ISR BC Racing Pennzoil S13 of Pat Gooden. Here we go. Tyler McCoy using all the track. Got a clean start. Camaro initiates. Into the bank. Tyler McCoy, big angle. Pat Gooden. Couple car lengths behind, but looking strong. Power Alley, who's going to seize the moment? Tyler McCoy gets out to the second clipping zone. Both of them tied to the front clip. Pat Gooden lacks a bit of angle there. Brings it on home across the finish line. Tyler McCoy strong up front. Let's dissect this, Ryan. Well, you can see from the onset just how fast Tyler is and how aggressive he is. He gets on a mid-high line here. You can see Gooden down just a little bit of separation. And as you come off the bank, you can see Tyler eyeing from this touch and go. He gets nice and wide out there. Pat a little bit off of it early, and then he makes a little mistake right here. Pat does in the chase position, Ryan.
Looked pretty good from Tyler's perspective up high on the wall. pretty good. Like you say, he's really, really fast. The one thing I didn't like about Tyler's run was his low amount of angle at the touch and go. Could have been more there, but that comes with the speed, I guess. He's got to maybe slow down a little bit and throw a little bit more angle into the car. You could see Pat trying to keep up all the way throughout the course. So it's going to be interesting to see right now how well Tyler can do in the chase position with that amount of speed and power that he has.
The little bobble that Pat made from inside clip 1 to inside clip 2 right there, how big of a mistake is that in your eyes?
Well, that'll be a comparison thing. We want to see what kind of corrections that Tyler's going to make when he's in his chase position, as he didn't really make any corrections or bobbles in his lead.
Next up, again, Pat Gooden. Now he will lead Tyler McCory, giving chase as Moen and Ing. Moen and Ing are our next battle. After that, Guushi and Jones. And last, Ryan Turk and Nishida. Here we go. Gooden, bright yellow Pennzoil hood. Putting it down. Tyler McCory gets close and personal, riding shotgun with Pat Gooden on the Seattle bank. Coming to the power alley, Pat Gooden, Tyler McCory getting out to the touch and go. Both the drivers. A great lead run from Pat Gooden, but Tyler McCory not backing down. Big transition here from Gooden. A lot of speed being scrubbed. Man, I gotta say, there was a lot of speed being scrubbed there, and it seemed that Tyler McCory, that could have definitely choked him up there, but held on to it. A great lead run, and I got to tell you, a phenomenal chase run.
Well, I love the way that Tyler McCory dives in here. You know, he could have made a mistake there, but Ryan, how do you guys look at that aggressiveness?
That is one of those moves that you hope is going to work, but you kind of cringe when you're watching it because you're not really sure. But that was amazing. That's the kind of aggressiveness that we love to see, and he did it with such perfection. That was ideal. That's exactly what we want to see. Unfortunately, Pat right here on this transition really stalled up, but Tyler did a great job of avoiding contact, kept his car at angle, and powered through.
Yeah, that could have easily choked up Tyler, and he could have rotated. Taking a look at the judges' verdict, Tyler McCory unanimously gets the win. Tyler McCory gets the win. Pat Gooden, unfortunately, knocked out ISR Performance, BC Racing, Pennzoil, Falcon Tires, S13. Dealt a tough hand there against the Rock, and Pat Gooden is knocked out. So Tyler Rock McCory advances on. He's got the baby farm here, Nicole and the kids. So cheering him on and advancing on to the top 16. Ryan, still to see Matt Field here. So Matt Field, Juha Rintanen. Juha Rintanen is a no-show. This is a quick buy run here for Matt Field. Matt Field will advance on here, and a quick, easy battle for him.
Yeah, he's looking very strong out there. Another basically practice run for Matt Field.
Yeah.
One more opportunity to hit the track before the top 16. He certainly looks very, very solid this weekend. You know, he always says, I would not be out here competing if I didn't think I could win events and win championships. So that is the kind of attitude that you definitely need to have. He will be facing the winner of this next battle, Jared, Kenny Moen versus Charles Ing.
Kenny Moen, Charles Ing, our next battle. Kenny Moen, just so fast, really smooth driver. The BMW seems to be suiting his style. You know, he comes from a variety of Supras, S chassis, and now I think the BMW looks strong. So Kenny Moen or Charles Ing, the winner of that would go against Tyler McCory.
Yep, and then Field is going to be taking on Osbo.
Ooh, Field and Osbo. That should be a fun one. Yeah, taking a look at it. So real quick, Kenny Moen, Charles Ing. These guys have not seen battle against each other. Charles Ing back behind the wheel of his G37. Yeah,
he's definitely trying to find his place in what vehicle that he wants to use here. He looks pretty solid in both of them, but I think the thing with Kenny Moen is he's so fast and he's got fluid transitions, and when he's on, he's certainly on. So it's going to be a tough battle here with these two Achilles drivers.
Yeah, Charles Ing, traditional road race driver. Been driving a few different varieties of vehicles over the years and campaigning this G37 for a couple years, changing up power plants, changing up things, and parked that car for a little bit, made sure it was up to snuff, and looks like it's got not only new livery but freshened up here as he gets a quick little jump there. And here we go. Kenny Moen out front, got Bill. Achilles radial BMW. Charles Ing giving chase. Kenny Moen, that's what we were talking about, that fluidity there from Kenny Moen. Both these guys on Achilles radials as Charles Ing getting aggressive in the chase, and Kenny Moen powering through. Man, that BMW's looking pretty solid.
Well, good start here for Kenny Moen. You can see initiation gets right to angle there. You can see a little bit behind him is Charles Ing, not at the same angle as Kenny Moen. nice and high up on the bank. Ing looking for an opportunity to attack on the inside here as Kenny Moen goes deep into that touch and go. And then Ryan, as he comes through the smoke cloud here, pick it up with Kenny Moen and Charles Ing.
So Kenny is one of the drivers that likes to come off outside zone 1 late. So he likes to ride that wall a lot longer and come out to the yellow line a lot sooner. And he still made it to the touch and go no problem. But for the chase driver that isn't accustomed to driving that line, as you could see from Charles, he ended up going on the lower line. He went a little further in. So this is going to be interesting now as Kenny Moen chases Charles to see if he's able to match his lower line through that area while maintaining drift and hitting all the points that he needs to.
Charles Ing now will lead. Kenny Moen will give chase. Let's see if Charles Ing parking this car, getting the refresh, making sure the car is just dialed and bringing it back into competition here in Seattle. Also Kenny Moen, he's you know what's interesting is Charles Ing, we've seen him at competitions in the S chassis, but Kenny Moen we haven't seen at all. He was doing some other racing in his native Norway, and looks like a cone hit there in the chase position is fine. Again, a cone hit in the chase position is allowed. As now Charles Ing, look at Kenny Moen right there, closing the gap into the power alley. Big angle from Moen. Is that going to pay off, or is that going to hurt him? Doesn't seem to hurt him much at all as Charles Ing, a good lead run, taking out that final front clip, while Kenny Moen using all of the course.
So Kenny Moen staying aggressive as Charles Ing has his opportunity in the lead position. Right out of the gate, Kenny eyes him up. Starts to close the door here as Charles is kind of on a mid-high line there, making some adjustments. Kenny almost door-to-door there as they drop down into the touch and go. Big angle by Kenny in the chase. Thought maybe he would lose a little bit of proximity, but Ryan, he's able to stick with it and stay pretty close to Charles Ing.
Yeah, even on that outside zone 1 early on, it looked like Kenny had a little bit more angle than Charles did, and then matched it halfway through the bank. Did a really great job of following him on a different line that he's accustomed to from outside zone 1 to the touch and go.
So Charles Ing, Kenny Moen, do we have a victor? Brian, Andy, and Ryan. Kenny Moen gets the win. Moen gets the win. 2 battles left. 2 battles left in the top 32 action as we are just throwing some joy out there in the world. If you're watching, hashtag FDSEA. Again, Formula Drift, Seattle, FDSEA. Let everybody know. Share the link if you're watching online on Facebook, or regardless, you can watch every round of Formula Drift competition. Jeff Jones, Ken Guushi. Jeff Jones, relentless, throws it out there. Ken Guushi. The Guush is loose. And Ken Guushi, always a fun driver to watch. Seems like he's really been hitting his stride over the last few years. He qualified 6th. Jeff Jones qualified 27th.
Yeah, good battle here with Jones. You know, he has had his wins in the season so far and had a lot of bright moments. Ken Guushi, like you said, coming off
that's a red flag. That is a restart.
I'm glad we caught that before initiation.
Yeah, that's some tire abuse there, and yeah, good catch there by Guushi. So 3 strikes and you're out. That start chicane instituted because you're in Seattle, man. Yeah,
there is a flashing light at the end of or the beginning of the outer zone 1 that the drivers can see. So Ken Guushi, once he hit that, it will trigger the light, and that should be the reason why he stops. So we'll do this all over, but it'll be strike for Guushi.
Ken Guushi, 1 strike. We are clear to send. Ken Guushi, Jeff Jones. Ken Guushi, Gretty Performance, part of the Boost Brigade. Let's call it what it is, the lead captain of the Boost Brigade, Gretty Performance. Nexen Tires, SR by Toyota GT86. Jeff Jones in the Doc X, turbocharged V8 powered S14. These things, anti-lag always sounds cool when Guushi goes around, and there he is, separating himself from Jones. Jones still good angle, trying to close that gap coming in to the power alley. Ken Guushi putting the car in that rear clipping zone. Jeff Jones navigating the front end of that black S14. Trying to get closer to Guushi. A good run there from Guushi and Jones.
Well, Guushi starting out here in the lead position. Jones in the chase. Guushi on a nice high line there. Jones staying on line with him just a little bit far back. And one thing I noticed from Guushi, Ryan, is he doesn't quite get out to the touch and go maybe as much as you'd like, but Jones kind of almost tries to take advantage of it on the inside, but not able to fully close the door.
He did a great job on outside zone 1 of matching Guushi's line and angle. He stayed really high, like you said. The proximity might not have been there, but he did an excellent job of staying high, which we haven't seen a lot of from the chase drivers so far. So that was one of the better chase runs on that outside zone 1 for matching line at least. Coming down into the infield, Guushi was a little bit off there. We always say they need to get the rear bumper near the line, but he was just slightly off of that, but pretty clean through there. I guess just the proximity from Jones would be something that Guushi is going to have to try to improve on in his chase run.
So Jeff Jones will now lead. Ken Guushi giving chase. Who's going to come out on top? Jeff Jones. Let's see. Clean start. No cones hit. Are we going to have a victor here? Are they going one more time? Jones throws it down. Ken Guushi a little bit lower the line. Jones throwing more angle at it. Guushi right there. Almost rubbing some tires here. Coming into the power alley. Jones getting out of that touch and go. Guushi transitions. Seemed a bit cautious there. Coming around that final front flip. Jones and Guushi. Make some noise.
Well, I think as a spotter, you're definitely biting your fingernails here.
Happy anniversary. Grease is gone.
Judge's verdict, slide him left for Jones, right for Guushi. Ken Guushi gets the win. Ken Guushi gets the win. Our top 5 drivers in the championship contention are advancing on to the top 16. So, Ryan, championship implications. One more battle left, the top 16 when we come back for the 16, but we still have Turk and Nishida, but scheduled when we come back. 5 o'clock is our live stream.
Yeah, we've got some good battles up. Vaughn Gittin Jr. taking on Dean Carney in the first battle. Matt Kaufman and Alec Honadale. Castro taking on Tanner Foust. Forsberg and Dye finishing off the left-hand side of the bracket.
On the right-hand side of the bracket, Odie Bakshis will go against Forrest Wang. Frederick Osbo will be going against Matt Field. That should be a fun one to watch. Tyler McCory versus Kenny Moen. And then Ken Guushi against the winner of this battle. Ryan Turk, Robin Nishida celebrating Gum Out Heritage Week here with that Max livery there. Been around since World War II, the 2JZ. Hankook Hankook tires on the corner of that SR by Toyota 86, and Ryan Turk goes into the wall. And Ryan Turk hits the wall hard. You can see the 50-52 wheels sustaining some damage. Robin Nishida navigating the course. And Robin Nishida finishes out the course. Take a look at this again, Ryan. What went wrong?
Well, it was looking like a solid run here from Ryan Turk on the onset. You can see he establishes a gap. He's on a nice high line here. And as we get into this latter part of outer zone 1, he just kind of, the front end just kind of washes out there and he goes into the wall. And obviously, Robbie Nishida passes on through. He doesn't need to finish the run if the chase car, the lead car zeroes out, but he finishes it up nonetheless. And obviously, it's going to be a tough break for Ryan Turk.
So as we take a look at it from multiple angles there, yeah, it just looks like he went into it. You see him wobble and work his way into the wall. Ryan Turk, definitely want to make sure he is okay. Again, the Heritage Week livery. He will be in the pits this at halftime. He's given out some posters created by Max Grundy, some limited edition lithographs and tumblers. But just interesting there for Ryan Turk, taking a look at the car. We'll see if he gets it back together, or will Robin Nishida advance on. Our final battle of top 32, slowing things down. Once again, just some wacky things happening here in top 32, but some exciting driving, Ryan. I mean, I would say there's some really fun driving, and this is only a shape of things to come.
Well, there's always unpredictable things that happen in the sport of drifting, and especially at this level and this caliber. And when you have a track like this that's so dynamic, you certainly have the possibility of seeing these things. Unfortunately, for Ryan Turk, this is going to be a second event in a row that he's had a fairly sizable wreck, and not sure if he's going to exercise his competition timeout, or even if he has one, because I believe yesterday he missed his first lap in qualifying. So if I remember correctly, he did not use his competition timeout. I have to go back.
No, he did.
He did?
Yeah, he passed on his first run. He used his competition timeout. Yeah, he used his competition timeout yesterday because on his second run was to be at the line. He used it yesterday to get the car together. So unfortunately for for Ryan Turk. He does not have a competition timeout, and it seems that, you know, he wouldn't be able to get hands on the car.
Yeah, I don't see an option for him at this point because he does not have that competition timeout, and Robbie Nishida would just need to get to the line here and show that his car can run. But obviously, we saw his car running, pretty clearly. And pretty
and he didn't even need to run the course, because in that chase position, if something happens in front of you, you can come to a halt.
Yeah.
and you'd automatically get the advantage, or however you see it.
We do require the lead driver to finish the run if a chase driver spins or zeroes out in the chase position, because obviously there's no obstruction there. But in the case of a lead driver zeroing out, the chase driver doesn't need to drift around. Then they can simply stop drifting. In this case, Ryan Turk was completely off course, and Robbie Nishida, made the pass through. But it's a tough break for Ryan Turk, unfortunately, for the fans and for himself in terms of his positioning in the championship. But I'm just glad that he looks like he's safe, and we'll get the vehicle off and he'll be right back at it.
Ryan, unfortunate circumstances for Ryan Turk. He used his competition timeout yesterday. This is our final battle. Robbie Nishida will get the win, advancing on to the top 16 as Achilles Radial G37.
Yeah, just needing to make a pass here. He'll do that. Then that will close out. The top 32 for us will be back here to start precisely at 5 o'clock for opening ceremony. Steps running, a lot of other movements for you guys. Lots of action along the way. And Robbie Nishida shows his mechanically functional. He'll move on to the top 16, and the bracket is now set for round 6.
Round 6 of the Formula Drift Championship presented by Blackview Dash Cameras. Robbie Nishida, little celebratory bye run here, advancing on to the top 16. Robbie Nishida gets the win. Plenty of things to see and do here at round 6 Evergreen Speedway. So please come shake some hands, buy some gear, support drifting, because without you, the fans across the globe, not be where we're at. So thank you so much for all the support. 13th year of the Formula Drift Championship presented by Blackview Dash Cameras. Again, when we come back, 5 p.m. local time, that is in just over an hour, 5 p.m. local time for round 6 of the Formula Drift Championship presented by Blackview Dash Cameras here at Evergreen Speedway. We'll see you back here. Don't go anywhere, or see you back here in a little bit. Send it.